All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn, Pandemic Parenting, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy. Today's webinar, once again, sponsored by Imprints Cares. My name is DaVonte McKenith. I'm the morning anchor at WXII 12 News here in the Piedmont Triad. And like I said earlier, it's such a pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon, especially during that lunch hour, right? I promise you this will be very, very beneficial for each and every one of you. If you're at home or in the office this afternoon and you have a question for any of the doctors involved, feel free to leave that in the Q&A portion of this feature, and we'll try to get those throughout the conversation as well. I don't have to say this, but I want to. This COVID-19 pandemic has certainly changed and impacted our lives day in and night out in many ways. And we continue to learn more about how it's impacting the mental health of our children and adolescents in our very own community. This afternoon, we are joined by Dr. Naomi Leslie and Dr. Stephanie Daniel. Both are very, very qualified to offer practical suggestions for dealing with some of those issues that our youth and younger people are experiencing during the course of this pandemic. Dr. Naomi Leslie is a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist. Her official titles, plural with an S, titles are Assistant Professor of Psychiatry and Program Director for Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Fellowship at Wake Forest Baptist Health, as well as the Medical Director at Cross North School and Children's Home. Dr. Stephanie Daniel is a clinical psychologist affiliated with Wake Forest Baptist Health as well, and their Department of Family and Community Medicine. She also served as the Executive Director of the Shoal Health Alliance. Dr. Leslie, Dr. Daniel, thank you both for being here this afternoon. Yes, let's go ahead to that first question. I think it comes from a mother of a preschooler. My preschooler did not attend daycare for the past year because I was working from home and wanted to limit our exposure, which understandably so. I've gone back into the office, and the preschool that she once loved is now a source of anxiety for my 4-year-old child. She starts asking me not to take her shortly after she gets up and clings onto mom throughout the morning routine. She begs me not to leave her, and drop-offs are awful. So what should we do as parents there?
And I'm going to walk you through this one, and we can go to the next slide. Yeah, I have some quick pointers for separation anxiety, but to tie it in with what Dr. Daniel was just talking about, leaving preschool was one lightning bolt into the resilience zone, and going back is now another lightning bolt, right? So I think this is a time to recognize that our kids are going through major transitions that we're sometimes having to drag them along with us, right? We don't have a choice. They need to get on board when we're going back to work, but it's not unexpected, meaning it's pretty common if there's a big change like this to see, head back to
sorry.
the separation anxiety slide. That we would see what we call a regression, which means going back to a stage of development that we've seen a kid already move through and succeed at. So maybe your 3-year-old actually had some separation anxiety when they first went to preschool, but then loved it and got over it. But essentially they are restarting, right? And so this time of major life change of going back to preschool for the first time after a year is, while it's going to pose a challenge, it's not a sign that something is wrong with your child. It's pretty normal for them to have had this type of reaction. So I have 3 main suggestions in terms of practical things you can do to help with getting around the resurgence of the separation anxiety. The first is to prepare the kid for the separation. And I put up a couple of pictures on the slide of 2 books that were used and beloved in my own household about what it's like to leave home and go to preschool. I can highly recommend them. So if you don't have them in your own household, The Kissing Hand is about Chester Raccoon, whose mom uses a technique of giving him a kiss every morning in his palm so that it's always with him. Actually, it's at night because he goes to school at night. He's a raccoon. Anyway, that he keeps at all times and is always reminded that his mom is with him and his mom loves him. Maisie Goes to Preschool is just another example of a book that describes what happens at preschool, right? So remember that a 4-year-old, if they've been out of preschool for a whole year, they may not even remember what it's like to be in preschool. What do we do all day? How long is this going to last? How long till mommy comes back? When do we eat? Where's all my toys? What can I play with? Do I know any of these people? Maisie Goes to Preschool provides a script to talk about these are the things that are going to happen. There's a sequence. You come in, you do art, you have snack, you do another activity, you have lunch, you have playtime, and then mommy comes to pick you up or daddy comes to pick you up at the end of the day. So it's actually better not to avoid the topic of discussion or going to school with a 4-year-old. That's one natural thing that we might try to do, like, oh, we just won't talk about school. That way she won't get upset or he won't get upset. But actually preparing them and talking through what school will be like is helpful. The second is, and this goes hand in hand with preparation, but having a routine at separation. So something you do every time. It could be the kissing hand, like Chester Raccoon, or it can be that we always pull up, we help get all of our bags out of the car, we go inside, we share 2 hugs or 3 hugs or 1 big hug, and we count to 10. We give a kiss on the cheek, and then we get you through the door. And that we try not to deviate from that routine so that it is, there's less uncertainty for the kid, because uncertainty heightens anxiety. That routine also helps us as parents. It's incredibly hard to let go of your crying, clingy child. Speaking from experience here, right? So it's actually best if you can stick to the routine and as quickly as possible get moving, because most kids, even with significant separation anxiety, after about 5 minutes are going to be calm and transition into the preschool room and play just fine. The last is a use of a transitional object. So that's the picture of the teddy bear here. It can really help to have a comfort item, right? Something, it's essentially like for preschoolers, our version of their version of a stress ball, something to squeeze, to physically give them some comfort, and also a reminder of home and a place that feels comfortable and with less anxiety. So those are my 3 main ideas or practical ideas to help with separation anxiety in a preschooler. It means going back through it, which is the bad news.
And I want to bring in one of our questions from our question and answer box. Annie Vasquez, she says, how can we assist our children in resetting when they're already stressed? So let's say we might have missed the mark to prepare our child for that. How do we handle our children in resetting when they're already stressed?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I don't know if Dr. Daniel wants to jump back in and join in with me about it, but once the kid is out of the zone, it does become harder to get the reset done. That release that Dr. Daniel talked about, that brings you back down towards your baseline within your resilient zone. So it's actually pretty key to find those reset items that you can do, the planned resources. So the key there is the plan. If you don't plan in advance and have some things that you know help your kid, it's much harder to just all of a sudden use them in crisis. So if you've never used deep breathing with your kid, the first time you do it cannot be in crisis mode, right?
Amen.
You need to plan in advance and then work on then using it in crisis. But lots of techniques, depending on the age of the kid and their ability to participate with you, things that distract them in a positive way. So singing a song, physical affection, so a hug, doing something physically active, like let's get the wiggles out. We're really upset. We're in that high place where there's anxiety and I'm feeling too hot and angry and we need to wiggle that out. So we're going to do a dance party. We're going to do a jumping jacks. We're going to do, which are called star pencils for the little ones. And then for older kids, it's really helpful to have identified, well, is listening to music one of your planned resources? Is taking a 5-minute break a planned resource? Do you need to take a walk around the block? But having that time to really think about what works for you and for your kid before the crisis happens is really key.
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Daniel,
Leslie.
did you want to add anything to that?
I would just add that if you find that your child's staying outside the zone most of the time, so more days than not, and again, that might be that they're above the zone or below the zone, but if they're outside the zone more days than not, and you're finding that it is hard to reset or redirect, then I think oftentimes that's a sign that you might want to seek professional guidance or attention. You can do that through your child's pediatrician or family physician. You can certainly seek the help and assistance of a mental health professional or someone who has expertise in child development. But I think that would be an indicator that you might need help above and beyond just a planned resource and reset.
Well, thank you both so much for your time this afternoon. And thank you all our participants for coming in to our webinar on this Tuesday. We will be sending out more information about the programs that Imprints Cares offers to all the participants rather. That will be sent out sometime today, I believe. And you can also always find much more information at imprintscares.org. Dr. Stephanie Daniel, Dr. Naomi Leslie, thank you so much again.